listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio. I'm with Emily Dean, and Steve Hall has joined us.
Good morning.
This morning. You can... morning, Peter.
Morning, Richie.
Morning, Jim. You can text us on 81215. Follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio. Email the show via the Absolute Radio website.
We've had some tweets already, Frank.
Tweets.
Can you imagine
Tweets for my sweet.
what they might be regarding?
Let me see now. Let me just check my date. It's 11th of October.
It's a Saturday.
Oh, yes, I remember what it is. I'm on Doctor Who tonight! Yes, I am on Doctor Who tonight.
I love the way you've been so self-effacing about this whole
Yes,
thing.
I've never responded like this. I've read every preview and review. I never read any of that stuff. And I tell people, I've been sending people pictures of me. I never do anything like this about my normal
Can I be
career.
honest, I am quite shocked at how many pictures you're sending us.
I know.
I mean, in the week, you've been sending... I've never had so many mass emails from you in my entire life.
And
You said, look at me. They actually say things like, subject, look at me.
I was just
OMG.
doing it. I was just saying, look at this brilliant poster with me on it.
Yeah.
I know. I don't know what's happened to me. I've become some sort of egomaniac.
I'm really excited.
I'm some sort of egomaniac.
It was really exciting. Even seeing you in the trail last week, we had me and the wife.
I don't know that pub.
We had a little squee.
You had
on
a
the screen.
squee?
We had a squee by osmosis.
Well, I had
of pride for you.
I would say, and I'm not exaggerating, there's been 3 trailers released this
Not that
week.
you're counting or anything.
I mean,
God.
I've watched that first one, which was the Next Time trailer.
Are you referring to... Can't we get a better expert?
New.
Oh, new.
Yes.
My mother, who was a professional actress of some years standing, said, I can tell he's wonderful just from that one line. She did.
Oh. And so there's that one, and then there's one which ends with me doing another line, which is...
Do it now for us. Go on,
Okay.
everyone. Okay, 1, 2, 3.
Something else might be responsible.
Oh, lovely.
nice.
And
They
I've
get
watched...
T-shirts with that on.
Yes, I've watched, I would say, each of those trailers in excess of 40 times. I'm not exaggerating.
Poor Kath,
I might be
imagine.
playing it down. There's another trailer, it doesn't have me on. And I've watched that once. It's nice, but you know what it's lacking?
What?
Me.
Frank, what if you're really good?
Well, I wouldn't worry too much about that.
No, but people might say, imagine A Star Is Born. Skinner,
Yeah, can you
Skinner
imagine?
is
In the way that-
I imagine Skinner is electrifying, the Jewish Chronicle.
Yeah. And the fact, obviously, Peter Capaldi had a small role in a previous series of Doctor Who,
Yes.
so it's not beyond the realms of possibility.
Colin Baker was Maxwell, of course, and then went on to become the Doctor. So, you know...
Oh, so you could be Colin Baker.
I could be Colin Baker. Oh, I better...
Wowzer.
Yeah, better order me some... they did McDonald's takeaways. I love Colin Baker, so shut up about it.
Listen, so we've had a couple of tweets.
Okay.
Adam says, so excited to see you on a trail for Doctor Who, you weren't edited out.
No, I'm definitely in it. Because they won't put me in the next time trailer, and then I'm not in it.
And
So no, at least I know I'm in it.
Matthew McGrath has said, looks like the cockerel needed the day off to find a blank videotape for Doctor Who tonight.
I think he spent the day off thinking, what about my acting career? I think he's in a dark room with his head in his hands, saying, how did this happen? I'm the actor. And I'm not disputing he's the actor. Actually, you're an actor as well, Em.
Oh, finally, you get to me.
Yeah.
I was there first, darling.
I mean, I'm not sure I got the tense right on that statement. But, yes. And can I say to our readers, I'm not going to go on and on about it all day. All right? Okay, I'm going to fight the urge. But obviously I've got to mention it, because it's oozing out of me, like oil oozing out of the ground in the opening credits of the Beverly Hillbillies.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
740, a.k.a. Ian Angle.
Ah, the angle has landed.
Yes. You never know, Frank. Perhaps in a few years, people will be saying, Frank who?
No, that's so clever, isn't it? Because that suggests
Clever and
obscurity and everlasting fame.
Yeah.
In the same remark. As I once heard Bruce Forsyth say on Play Your Cards Right, what a marvellous remark. And one of the contestants had said quite a funny joke, but he wasn't prepared to call it a joke.
Yeah.
Such as his grinning rage.
Jared says you must be super pumped for tonight.
Yes.
I do hope not.
Well, I can't express my excitement, but I have been. It's
Insufferable?
really.
No, you haven't.
No.
Will
I
you
tell
venture
you-
onto the forums afterwards? Will you?
You know what? I've completely abandoned myself to reading stuff, which absolutely slags me off. Because I just thought I can't. I look at the forums every week.
Yeah.
Why should I stop? So,
I get, when I saw you on that trailer,
Yes, let's talk about that again.
I actually made a noise.
Did you?
I saw your face and I went,
If anyone had made a noise in our house, I'd have slapped their faces. That's going to be difficult.
Do you know what?
I've got people round tonight to watch
who
it.
have you got round? Are you allowed to say?
Family,
Oh.
the close core.
Don't get people round.
But you know, one of those things when you think they're not
Frank, you're gonna have a row.
Kath will be texting and stuff, and there's going to be trouble.
You're going to end up on no speakies.
My chair's very creaky. I don't want anyone thinking that's my skeleton.
Do you tolerate people pausing during Doctor Who if there's anything happening? If
I think if
a
it's
cup of
anything-
tea needs making,
If it's anything less than a heart attack, no.
Also, I'm not sure when to text. I'm going to put this out here.
Yeah.
Because obviously I will be making the exception of a lifetime and watching you because you're my dear friend, and I want to encourage you. In this
you
path.
secretly watch every episode and you know it.
Appreciate it.
But when do I text? If I do it too soon, that will irritate him. You see, if I leave it too long, imagine he gets no text. It's just that like the time, digital time, taunting him.
Yes. Well, yeah.
I think you'll get inundated, Frank.
Oh, I can't tell you. Can you imagine the office will be coming in? The director of Peaky Blinders will be saying, well, it was staring us right in the face.
Mark Gatiss has tweeted us.
Mark Gatiss, a Who legend, I think it's
Yes.
fair to say.
Just a legend in general. Looking forward to tonight, kidder, he says.
Ah, what a nice
Lovely.
man, Mark Gatiss. How lovely to be nice and talented. I had the offer, I settled for talented. No, he's a great man. Oh, I laughed at that Robin Hood episode, didn't we? Anyway, I genuinely
I enjoyed
laughed.
that. It was great. That's one of my favourite of the series so far.
Oh, yeah,
I like
just,
time
all right,
heist.
just because he's texted, don't start creeping. I hate it when you do that, Steve. I've told you before.
Must stop creeping.
I've only brought Steve in for bullying.
Glad it's someone else's turn this week.
No, exactly. Yeah, Alan's having a rest at home. It's convalescing. We ought to have a holding pool where people have been bullied on the show can sit out there. Who was it last? I think Daisy got a bit last week.
Yeah, she did get a bit.
Yeah, but can I say now that I love Daisy very much? She's like a sister to me. Obviously a younger sister. Younger sister who's taken away at an early age and brought up in a more street kind of way.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Tell us more about Doctor Who, Frank.
I'll tell you what I never told you when I was doing Doctor Who, that the director took me to one side and gave me a piece of advice. And the director's a guy called Paul Wormshurst, who's become something of... he's doing the Christmas special, so he's the golden boy director at the moment. And I've known him for a long time. He's a lovely man. But he said to me, just a little word, something I've noticed about you, but when you have your mouth closed, you look quite heroic. And when you have it open, you look gormless. He said, so can you just remember whether you're trying, which one of those you're after?
Is that right? Do you know, I've never realised that about you, but he's spot on.
Did that
Yes.
resonate with you? Were you looking back at old publicity shots?
Yeah, well, I suppose that when I'm talking then, I look gormless. I suppose I know that I sound so bright. I'm not working hard on my physical appearance at those moments. Yeah, but it's an interesting bit of advice. But I noticed one of the publicity shots is me looking gormless. He was absolutely spot on.
Do you know what? I love you casually saying, I noticed one of the publicity shots. What, you've analysed all of the publicity shots.
Yes.
And we have had to as well.
By the way, this is a slightly just... it's the same topic, but it's also slightly different. I play one could say that I play a train driver. It's a bit more complicated than that. But when I was at school, a train driver was like the go-to ambition for young boys. People wanted to be train drivers. When did that stop? Can you imagine now a young boy saying, yes, I'd like to be a train driver? Do they even have train drivers?
No, they all want to do YouTube videos now.
Yeah.
That's what the job
They've
they
gone
want to do.
from tube train to YouTube. Okay?
They all want to do videos which just say, hey guys.
What's the difference between, because train represents train of thought, a sort of intellectual life. YouTube, it's all about me. Well, it's all about you. But when it's you, it's at you, so that makes it me. I think that pithy little comment could go very well on a lapel badge. And it could win UKIP the next general election.
So did you ever want to be a train driver?
No, I never did. No, I wanted to be a cowboy more than anything. But
so you'd have been robbing a train?
Yeah, exactly. One of those trains with the big grid on the front. You know, the cow catcher. You know, in the Wild West they had those big grids. Didn't bother you.
Were you a Lone Ranger type, or would you in a goodie or a baddie?
Definitely a goodie. Lone Ranger I liked Paladin. Have gone, will travel. That's who I liked. But, you know, let's not get into the Wild West at this stage. So, Steve, how's it been going? You haven't been on the show for ages.
It's been a while. The last time I was on, my wife was fit to burst with our first child. So we now have a baby.
She burst?
She did indeed burst.
Congratulations.
Yes, thank you very much. I had as many as 3 tweets from excited readers wanting to know her progress.
Yes.
So we have a lovely baby daughter called Polly, who is now about 3.5 months old.
What's her weight?
She was £8.6.
Lovely.
Good.
So nice and healthy. She was a little bit like she's about.
Why do they do this with babies? Why do people do that?
Well, I like to know if they're a size 0 still.
Yeah, but if someone said to me, I've got a new girlfriend, I wouldn't say, what kind of weight are we talking about?
Can I be honest, I would.
Yeah, I know you would. They should be weighed on the first date. That should be a tradition.
It was a very exciting labour. And
no one said that for a few years.
I hadn't realised how sickly I am.
And you should have called me, I would have told you.
While I was cheering her on by the bedside, and as Polly was due to exit, pursued by a bear,
you were cheering her on. When they say sometimes it's nice to have chanting, they mean like in a yogic way. Not, come on.
One baby, there's only one baby. So the staff were so concerned, they insisted that I go and sit down because they were saying, you're about to faint. And I was trying to say to them, I promise you I'm not. I'm just this pale all the time.
Yeah?
And they were going, no, you're about to hit the deck. And so I was kind of wrestled into a chair and sat down by a very angry nurse. And then as soon as I was sat down, out popped our daughter. So the adrenaline got me on my feet. I did. I saw her from a distance.
Oh, that's a bit harsh, being put in a chair for the birth.
Yeah.
Still, it all went well. How lovely that has happened. Your life has changed dramatically while you've been away, Steve.
Yes, and I now look about 15 years older.
No, you look as pale and as drawn as you always do. That was the advantage you had.
Yeah.
Is that you were never going to look any tireder.
Skinner, Dean and Cochrane. Together, The Frank Skinner Show.
Absolute Radio.
Have you put that picture of me up on the website yet? Hurry up. You took a lovely photo of me earlier, Frank.
Yes, Emily was wearing a fur, what would you call it?
It's faux.
Like a fur cape.
Faux fur.
It's a faux fur cape.
And it's a cloak, because I get so cold.
It's kind of a faux fur athletic.
I get so cold with
these. Excellent.
Exactly. With the terrible temperature control in this place, I've decided I'm going to stop wearing a cloak.
No, well, it looks good. But her face was surrounded with this little halo of faux fur, and she did look like that Jesus fresco that someone tried to
badly painted
renovate.
one.
Well, it started out well, and then that woman said, "Oh, I'll renovate it," and she turned out to be like the local cleaner.
Yeah,
and
it was a painting. It was called Ecce Homo.
Yes,
the painting.
Yes, yes. It sounds like a Yorkshire gay club.
Stop it.
So I was. I tell you what I was doing this week. Something I don't do. You know, when people say, "What shows do you watch on telly?" and there are certain shows that you think, "Oh, I must watch blah blah tonight," or "I must tape it." I still say tape it. Can you believe it? But there's a show that I always seem to just land upon, and that's the Antiques Roadshow.
Oh, I thought you were going to say 24 Hours in Police Custody. That's the only thing I watch.
No, I've heard you and Daisy talking about that fervidly.
Yeah. We love the crime shows, don't we, Daisy?
Oh.
We love our crime shows.
They can't be good as those Police Stop Action. Was that one a quiet day in Ilford High Street? Until this clown... what is... Then let's get another shot of a bloke doing a reverse round a corner on a dual carriage. What is this joker playing?
That's what they'll be saying about you tonight.
Yeah.
They
exactly.
won't be saying that.
A perfectly safe junction until this character. Anyway.
Meanwhile, over at the Antiques Roadshow...
I'm watching the Antiques Roadshow with Fiona Bruce.
Oh, does she come round to yours often, does she?
No, she was on it.
Oh, OK.
She gets a bit deeper every week, Fiona.
Oh, does she?
She's going to end the series with Old Man River. Anyway, so she said, well, we've got this... look at this pot, what this woman's bought.
It's changed since I last saw her.
Yeah, she's gone. She's let her working class roots envelop the whole programme. But anyway, every time... I don't know if you ever shout at the telly at all.
Oh, shout.
But whenever they say the price of whatever the ice is, they say, yeah, are you going to ask me for a price? I would say, you know, some people really collect this stuff. I'd say this could be worth anything between £200-300. I always shout, got it! They always look gutted every time, and they go, "Oh, really?" And you can tell they just want to smash it in the expert's face.
Yeah, yeah.
I always think that they should say, "Can't we get a new expert?" Anyway, no, but
nice.
I was making it a catchphrase.
Yeah.
It's a little line on Doctor Who.
I've got to remember the other line. It could be a catchphrase, or could it be something else? Have I remembered that second line correct?
Shut your face. Got it. Yeah, so I'd like to know what our readers shout at the television. Because I do that, honestly, at every pricing. I have to do it now.
I'm always shouting at the telly. Well, if I say, can you turn it up, Shaquille?
Yeah, she keeps it very high.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had a text straight away on the subject of things people shout at the telly. Jimmy from Letchworth said he always shouts that there is never actually anything in suitcases on the telly. They get picked up with such ease and swing about the place.
Yeah, that's actually...
He's right.
He's right to be irate about that. I've mentioned, I think, many times that one of my most hated things on telly is when someone's searching someone's office and you know that the person is on their way back, they'll be there any moment. And sometimes there's even a glass door, so you're waiting for a sinister...
Frank.
And I get stomach pains with anxiety. And I'm going, that's it, that's enough, get out! That's all you need, get out! It's the most...
It's awful.
Honestly.
I had it the other day watching Houdini. He was in the German ambassador's office. Why he had to stand there as long as he did, I don't know.
You've got what you want. Don't open another file.
I don't get a torch out, because that's going to make it worse.
Oh, exactly. They'll see the torch.
They'll see the light. They always do.
Oh, dear. And then you see the car, you see them getting out the car, you know, they're still... It's giving me stomachache talking about it. For God's sake, get out there. You've got what you need. Oh.
I sometimes, if I see a rom-com, which...
I eat it. Is that going to be that joke? I'm on a rom-com diet.
Which I do sometimes.
I know you see a rom-com.
I'm an intelligent woman. I've read Ulysses, but I have weak moments.
Okay.
And occasionally I like a rom-com, like
Yes.
as I'm sure Daisy does. And if I'm watching a rom-com and there's some ridiculous coincidence, which there always is, isn't there, in a rom-com? Oh, we're in this island, but with our new partners, and then we run into each other. I get so angry because I'm enjoying the rom-com, and then that ruins it. It's too much of a coincidence. I will sometimes go, "Oh, for God's sake!" That's my thing.
You're right. You will sometimes do that. Yes,
That's my thing.
I'm quite giving on things like that, on
Are you?
plot things. Yeah, my
Okay.
dad used to do a lot of that. Oh, whoa, yes. Oh, like you'd go in there. Oh, well, that's going to protect you, isn't it? A barroom table when someone's shooting at you. I mean, that used to drive me balmy.
I get apparently I get quite postmodern in my criticisms. Watching comedy on telly is quite frustrating.
You sure you want to share this? Don't name any names.
No,
if you're gonna
naming
really
no
lay
names.
into people.
The two apparently this is my wife has observed that if there's an anecdote that's presented as true but doesn't sound true at all, apparently I'll just go, well, that didn't happen.
Yes, I do that. I must say.
Yeah.
Isn't that satisfying?
I've seen I saw a bit, there was a man in which an anecdote in which a comedian claimed to have kidnapped someone and accidentally drunkenly kidnapped a dwarf and woke up with a dwarf in their bag in their hotel room.
Really?
And apparently all I said was, well, that didn't happen.
No, that was all you said on that act
Yeah.
of... Well, there's so much wrong with it, but all you were concerned of was the verity.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a good one. I do that as well. I shouted at gigs. No, when he was talking about his relationship with his brother's wife.
There's a thing I shout based on an old episode of Fantasy Football League that there was once
I don't like the sound of
John
this.
Inman. There's an episode where John Inman had to say the name Matthew Letizia.
Right.
And so whenever I see Matthew Letizia, but it's my mate's version that I'm doing. But he says something like Matthew Letizia.
Yes. I'm glad we've got a legacy.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
A text from 104 on the subject of things people shout at the telly. He says, my dad always shouts at the telly when they leave half-drunk pints of beer.
Yes, that's
Yes.
another for us. My dad used... And also, in Coronation Street, so they'd pull a pint with a head of about
I know.
4 inches of foam, and people would just happily take it.
I don't like it as well when they get up to leave as they neck the end of the pint. No one does that in real life. You sit and finish your drink.
Well, a lot of people just leave it. They just leave large
Yeah.
amounts of
That'd be
drink.
quite a satisfying bit if just in one episode of EastEnders there was just a bit where they just went, can you just top that up for
Yeah,
us?
exactly.
That's just a little bit of unnecessary faff,
Yeah.
but proper realism.
I had a mate that used to not shout at telly, but shout in pubs. If they didn't, a bit like that, he'd go, short measure! That's his standard thing. This chair's very creaky, I apologise for it.
Short
don't
Measure
like
should be a
this text.
sitcom, like Ronnie Corbett running
Look,
a pub.
can I not have two people shouting at me like that ever again? Steve.
I've actually said this. My pun was so weak that it's now been said. Thankfully, you didn't hear it, and the readers might have.
Well, I want you to say it again so I can
I
hear
said,
it.
because you'd said Short Measure, I'd said that sounded like an old sitcom, Ronnie Corbett running a pub.
Yes.
And it would be called Short Measure.
Yeah, that's all right.
Oh, well, bless
I'm
your
happy
heart.
with that.
Well, you could have gone to me instead, but now you'll never know what I would have said.
Oh, don't sulk.
No.
Steve's working on his
No,
Edinburgh
no,
material.
no.
Trying to help him out. He's trying out some new stuff.
I don't like this person who's listening live for the first time and wants to give credit to the podcast editors.
Well, for taking the music out.
Apparently they work miracles. Thank you very much.
They don't take any dialogue out, do they? Okay.
We've had a
It's just a bad week. Have you thought about that? These people don't consider all the alternatives. What about when Papan used to play the footballer, and every time the commentators, this is when I lived with David Baddiel, every time the commentators said Papan, I used to stand up, look out the window and say, that's probably my car. Every time.
I knew somebody, when someone would say Papan, would say, Nicole?
Oh, yeah.
Fabulous. Is that true? Did you? Or have you made that up?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Papan was he was an endless source of comedy. And I'll tell you what, my mate's dad used to say two things. Every time they say let at Wimbledon, he'd say bygones be bygones.
I loved your dad.
And this was my dad, my mate's dad.
Okay.
And when Colin Bell was playing for Man City, every time they said, they'd go, right, Bell, and he'd go, book and candle. Every time. every time.
You're listening to the Frank Skinner podcast from Absolute Radio. Want your Frank fix a little sooner? Listen live every Saturday from 8 a.m. on Absolute Radio. Across the UK on digital radio, mobile apps, and in London and the South East on 105.8 FM.
Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean, and Steve Hall is with us this morning. You can text the show on 81215, follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, or email the show via the Absolute Radio website.
We've been talking about things people shout at the television.
That's very good radio bit of stuff.
Bit of back
That's
announcing.
what we've been talking about, yeah.
Becky and John have emailed to say it really gets to us when people on the television finish a phone call and don't say goodbye before hanging up the phone. We find ourselves saying it for them.
In fairness, I often do that. If I'm busy and I'm at insult, I'll go, yes, exactly, slam.
Do you? Wow, that's terrifying.
Yeah.
There's a thing that I remember that Emily said to me, that she said she got upset if someone emailed her and they hadn't used punctuation. It's all lowercase and all that. It's like they
Sickening.
couldn't be bothered.
It's sickening.
And now if I get that, my manager does that a lot.
Does he?
I always
What
think,
about when they start with an I, a lowercase I,
Yeah.
apostrophe M? Sick people.
Yeah, yes.
I find that sometimes retrieved if at the bottom it has sent from my smartphone. I find myself forgiving that, because if they're on a train and it's difficult.
What, are you impressed they've got a smartphone?
I think if at the bottom it says E.E. Cummings, I'm all right with that. But other than that, anyone who got that joke, congratulations. You're friends of mine. But
relieved.
yes, I do. I take it as a slight.
Good boy. 013 says, when I watch programmes like... Oh, I love that. When I watch programmes like A Place in the Sun and the people don't choose any of the properties on offer, I always shout, free holiday. Keith from Basingstoke.
Yeah. Well spotted, Keith. That's never occurred to me.
229 has said they shout at the TV when in EastEnders people arrange to meet but never specify a time. They just say, see you later. But I guess that's because in the world of EastEnders they're only ever going to be in the Queen Vic.
Yeah.
So they'll be there at some point.
And also, I think they don't really want to meet that person. Well, what I used to be troubled with in EastEnders was when someone who worked on the market, something would happen to them and they'd say, Dave, can you just run the store for a bit? And Dave didn't say, well, hold on, I have no idea of your pricing system. I mean, too late, they're gone. They just give them an apron, like having an apron means you can operate a market store.
It's like being past the ring in The Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Frank, we've also had
Can you, I give you the magic apron of marketry. Oh, yes, no, it all oh, yeah, apples. Oh, yeah, it's working already. Apples! Weird.
We've also had a link sent to us of a news story, and the news story is Cary Grant's Bristol roots celebrated at new festival.
I think I know what's coming here.
This is from John Welsh, who simply says, from the slums of Bristol.
Yes, this is something my dad used to shout every time Cary Grant came on the telly. He would say, Cary Grant, from the slums of Bristol. I have no idea if he came from slums. He came from Bristol, but I think my dad added the...
Yeah.
He started to sort of point up the rags to riches story a bit by putting him in a slum.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Got a nice text from 491 who says, my dad, he's given his dad's full name, my dad, Steve Tiffin, gets very frustrated watching darts and frequently shouts, pub darts, when they get a 1 or a 5.
Ah, that's a good one.
I like the sound of that, Dad. Frank?
Does he say what they used to shout in the pub when I used to play darts? For I guess if you got 26, which is quite common, so you get a 20, a 1 and a 5 at the top, someone would shout bed and breakfast, 2 and 6. Oh. Thanks, everyone.
I'm just relieved I didn't get that reference.
Yes, I know it is a little out of date now I come to think about it. 2 and 6. Not the fact that it's all money, that in fact that would be 12 and a half.
The 2 and 6 material just isn't flying at the moment.
No, I don't know. I think I might have to go metric with my material.
Especially in the universities. Frank, we need to talk about Kim.
Oh, yes.
My boo. Kim Jong Oon.
Yes.
Who I fear I might have once made a friend of the show whilst you were off, which I accept now was irresponsible of me.
Well, I don't know. I've got a soft spot for Kim Jong Oon.
Well, you'll be gutted to learn that he's missing.
No, well, isn't he on gardening leave?
Well, what is it, Steve? First we heard he's got a terrible addiction to Emmental cheese.
Yes. There's lots of cheeses, isn't it?
Well, Emmental's
specifically because he studied at this Swiss finishing school, where and they've obviously taught him immaculately.
He studied cheese.
I heard he just sat at home popping baby bells. But now he's gone on to intravenous fondue. That's the dark road.
I like that
not many come back from there.
It's amazing. That's one of the speculations of the cause of this ill health and ballooning weight. But there are things that the news can say about Kim Jong Un that you couldn't say about any other leader. So one of the things they say is he looks even more overweight than usual.
Yes.
And that than usual is so damning.
Yes. Usually we're supposed to be sensitive now about fat people, aren't we?
I don't think sensitivity's high on his checklist of qualities he looks
I know, but that doesn't mean two wrongs don't make a right.
Well, it's tricky now that the bigger
I'd like
he
to
gets.
hear him say that.
Thanks,
It's also, I find you can be a little bit disparaging about Robert Mugabe. If you're seen as a despot in any way, then it's all right to go in for the attack.
Now that he looks more like KD Lang in a Hall of Mirrors than ever before.
Yes.
Yeah. What about, well, he had, so firstly, we should say, it was the dangerously high consumption of Emmental is the one reason that's been cited.
Can I ask you, what would you say is the cut-off point for addiction sympathy? You know, people feel sorry if you're on heroin or maybe alcohol. Jeez, I find people are a bit less, the poor devil is a slave. Yeah. He's a slave to dairy.
And it's difficult to stage an intervention in North Korea. What point do you have a word? You say, we think you might be lactose intolerant, as well as just generally intolerant.
Perhaps, you don't think he's fallen asleep and been eaten by mice? I think we'll come back to this. It's a mystery indeed.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We're talking about Kim.
Yes.
He's gone missing, and also, Steve, he favours a Cuban heel.
He does. I've been looking at his shoes, wanting to get your opinion on them because they're a fascinating construction.
Please ask me. I have a lot of opinion.
I love a Cuban heel. Is he in an early Beatles tribute act?
Well, also he does favour a boot cut slack, and that comes with its own sort of problems anyway.
I'd say he's. I saw a picture from the other day. He was in billowing trousers.
Yeah.
They were enormously. In a country where fine fabric is a premium.
The shorter man
he's rubbing their nose,
tends to. Yeah. Have you noticed Simon Cowell often goes for a boot cut jean?
Yes.
Because they try and hide the Cuban.
Yeah. Maybe that's why he has disappeared. He's in training to have the Eatles.
Maybe he's got
fat Beatles tribute band.
Maybe he's gone lost in his own trousers. They thought that's just a pair of trousers on the hanger, but he's become ensnared.
What about he's missed a lot of fixtures. He missed the Workers' Party anniversary.
Oh,
I don't know about you, but that's always a regular fixture in my calendar.
Well, it is for him, I would have thought. That's quite a biggie.
He sent flowers. They were a bit garage flowers.
Yeah.
You know, oh dear, I've been caught having an affair, I'm going to stop at the Esso garage. They were those flowers.
Can we say that Kim Jong Oon has definitely not been caught having an affair?
No, and I wasn't.
But
there's one rumour in the news that was that he was so fat he broke his own ankles just under his own weight. Like he's some weird Humpty Dumpty figure.
That can't be possibly. That's a bit Kim Jong Un likely. No, because there's fatter people than Kim Jong Un.
Precisely.
They're still moving about.
He's not that bad. He's kind of Michael McIntyre crossed with the kid from Up, the cartoon. So which is not that
also,
fat.
That is seen as a sign of prosperity. In North Korea, it's a good thing to be fat.
Yes.
You're saying yes.
I think in North
That's,
Korea, a coat is seen as a sign of prosperity.
Yeah, the North Korean Bake Off is one of the bleaker bits of television you could ever see.
Yeah, well, they all basically wear the same outfit. Do they all wear that grey tunic thing?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
And they've now got the
I
state...
imagine Where's Wally in North Korea?
Yeah.
He's a tough old book.
So they had the cheese, then the Cuban heels, but do you know the latest reason they're giving for his disappearance? They're saying it's due to an unspecified discomfort.
Yes.
That's the reason.
I love that, giving us that. David Cameron won't be at the G8 committee because of discomfort. What about Ed Miliband? Wouldn't go to anything.
No.
His life is all about discomfort.
I'd never go out with you socially.
No.
I didn't want discomfort.
Indeed. I call it the truth.
It's now suggested that his sister might be about to take over. Kim Yo-jong
Yes.
who's much younger.
That's an original name.
It's a bit complicated. Is Kim, that's the surname? It just comes at the front.
That's their surname,
is that
yeah.
how it works?
Yeah.
Just think it'd be when the register's called. It'd be a bit. Yes, I also like that idea that, say, if they can't make it, their sister. I suppose it's what the royal family do.
Yeah.
Bring a relative. As long as it's a relative, they can.
Yeah.
Anyway, if you've seen Kim Jong Un, please call the number which we're going to give after this song. And
Which will be mine.
Can I say I can't think of anything that would make me happier than you dating Kim Jong Un
Well, stick around.
in his fabulous Cuban, his Kim Jong Eels, as I like to call him, named after his father, of course.
The Frank Skinner Show. Listen live every Saturday morning from 8 on Absolute Radio.
That's me, by the way, Steve.
Yeah.
I've been listening on the podcast to that new
Good
jingle.
edit.
Oh.
It's a great edit. It reminds me of the theme tune to the Mary Whitehouse Experience. Slightly.
Oh, God.
Something for our older listeners there.
Yes.
So we're in email corner.
Yes.
So shall we begin? This is from Stumpy in South Wales.
Okay.
Okay.
Rings a bell.
Yeah. Mr. Radio, Cockerell and Miss Dean. I just wanted to wish Mr. Skinner well with his Doctor Who debut tonight.
Oh, yeah, did I mention that I'm on Doctor Who tonight?
Brackets Saturday, he says. I too will be making my debut on the show tonight. I'm the scared chef legging it from the mummy. It's a pleasure to share the screen time with Frank. If praise was allowed, I'd put some here. That's Stumpy in Pontypridd, South Wales.
That's...
How exciting.
Yes, I think I signed something for Stumpy. It's the sort of name sticks in your memory.
It's now a nice down-to-earth anecdote.
Yeah, exactly. Have you signed something recently for someone with a nickname? Why don't you text him? Any autograph anecdotes would be very...
So was he one of your colleagues? Did you sit around talking about when you were in rep?
No, I didn't...
I think you took to being an actor like a duck to water.
Yeah, exactly. I had the odd chat with, I spoke to some of the extras. There was a lady who was saying that she used to be in cabaret in the old days, and she was known as the sepia sensation. Never explained why.
The older they get, they do have some more sepia sensations.
They do.
They're a nappy.
But yes. But now he's given away the fact there's a mummy in it. No,
to be fair...
Yes, I know, I was joking. There is
that would be quite harsh on the spoilers.
There is a mummy on the Orient Express.
There's posters and everything.
It hasn't paid either. It's what I'd call a Pharaoh dodger.
Lovely. Bit of a pun, bit of Doctor Who, everything you want in life.
You old timers sure do know how to have fun. I felt I was on a porch then, looking out onto a Wild West street. Just for a second.
I got stuck trying to think if there was a pun involving Ptolemy then, and then I panicked and thought, I'm not 100% sure Ptolemy's an Egyptian thing, like...
And also that's...
Like Ptolemy, another one.
Yes.
That's more Radio 4.
You've done it anyway. You've done that thing.
Yeah. I've taken a cowardly step
when
backwards.
people say, "Oh, I was going to do a joke about," and then they do the joke.
Yeah.
We've all done it.
That's basically all my stand-up.
No, Steve, we've got to sort your confidence out.
Yeah, and I know just the person to do it.
Exactly.
It's always helped me in the past.
Good cop, bad cop in one human being.
Yeah, I'm trying to get at the good cop thing.
Oh, I've got confidence issues. I'll give Frank a call.
That's so unfair.
No, it's so unfair. In fairness, you have done wonders for my confidence.
There you go. That's because you are the sort of person who should have confidence.
Lovely.
Whereas Steve... No. I love Steve.
I know. Get onto the email, Steve.
Yes, we've had a further email, and this is directed to Ms. Dean.
It's about me. Love it.
Hi, gang. Just wanted to say thanks to Emily for her suggestion of going to see Russell Grant in Edinburgh as a 26-year-old straight man.
I thought he was going to say as a 26 stone.
As a 26-stone straight man, I was not expecting to have such a good time, but I did. I took a German work colleague and a nephew, neither of whom knew who he was, and they were a little confused by most of it. They had a good time too. I feel it would be inappropriate and a tad confusing to combine Russell Grant and a Knight's Move, so I won't. And that's from Dowie.
Oh. Well, I'm so glad the recommendation worked out for you.
Yes. Can I recommend that you see Justin Toper doing contemporary dance at the Barbican Centre?
Yeah. He was the Sun Astrologer, one of my favourites.
Yes,
it was a fantastic show, that, Frank. What about when the bit went wrong and he got angry? He turned Russell Grant and he said, just leave it.
Yes, I always enjoyed that bit. I didn't get to it in the end, but Emily, it's interesting because I thought Emily sold it in a slightly ironic way, but people still, they flocked, and good on Russell Grant.
Yes.
For that.
I have no idea how old Russell Grant is.
He's 82. Can I recommend the... oh, sorry, that's his collar. I recommend... Can I recommend the Levitating Shaman on YouTube, in which a shaman literally levitates high in the air. And that bit's not that exciting. It's when he lands on the floor and looks genuinely confused. I mean, I don't like a viral much, but that, oh man, that's a beautiful thing. That makes me happy to be a human.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
We've had an email from Ian in Leamington Spa, positing an interesting domestic scenario. He said, Dear Mr. Radio, Cockaliki and the Divine M, I recently had to deal with a rodent in the kitchen and was wondering...
Yeah. I know, it's serious.
Was wondering how each of you on the team would deal with such a domestic situation.
Well, it is strange that this should crop up, because I was at home last Saturday and Kath was on the telephone, and she came up to me. She was on the phone conducting a perfectly calm and normal conversation whilst gesticulating like the house was on fire. So it's a very weird juxtaposition. So she's going, you get it? And she led me upstairs, still talking calmly on the phone, pointing at the window. And there's a floor in our house which we call the mezzanine. And there's an office that Kath uses as
yes,
as her office.
I'm familiar with its work.
And there's a window there, and we've got ivy up the wall. You know, it's lovely ivy crawling up the wall, makes you feel like you live in the country, which obviously I wouldn't want to do, but
no.
Some people do. And there was a rat sort of on the windowsill looking in a very...
I like that you've given him a sort of personality.
No, but it was like... Do you remember the rat in the cheese cracker box on Fawlty Towers?
Yes.
When the man offers a thing, and it looks like it's a really sort of phony looking, sort of, Kevin, that kind of rat. It looked like that. I mean, it was kind of I could have believed that it was somebody with a glove puppet thing.
70s BBC props rat.
Yeah, but there's no doubt it was a rat.
What, are we doing a big rat, like scary big? Or?
Yes, it was. Well, had it been a small rat, I would have probably thought it was a mouse. To be honest. Oh. So
Mice are fine.
So we took... Our approach was to Google it. So we Googled rats in ivy, and there's a long list of minor celebrities.
And some quite specialist interest films, I would imagine.
Yeah, and then, yes, and, yeah, Richard Gere presents. and then it turns out that they're lured into the ivy because snails like ivy.
Shut
And
up.
rats like snails. Did you know rats like snails?
Do you know, I never did.
Yeah, so they go in there. I don't know if they sock them out of their shells or they just crunch them.
This is nice.
But that's what they go in.
Hi, kids.
What I'm saying is they eat them out of house and home.
It'd be a very different David Attenborough if you were doing the voiceovers.
Oh, they crunch them.
I've often thought about snails as well. Do people eat them because they're gastropods? And it sounds a bit like gastropod. And so they're led into the food thing. It's an interesting text in. I think you'll agree.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
Oh, 211 has texted us. I
Yeah.
say that like it's breaking news of some sort.
Yeah.
Ivan from Cambridge. This is to you, Steve. He says, "Don't worry, Steve. Ptolemy was the first Hellenistic emperor of Egypt after the death of Alexander.
There you go,
there you go.
Steve.
There you go.
Relax.
So don't worry, Steve."
It was factually correct, if entirely devoid of humour. So,
It's a
so
great-
I'm reassured.
I don't think it was totally...
That was-
See, there you go with your
I'm,
confidence
I'm,
again.
I'm quoting a review from the Sunday Times there.
How are you? Are you really?
No.
Oh, okay.
I like
The
it.
Sunday Times once described me as fine.
Oh, well, that's...
Did they? Many men have described me similarly.
Girl, you fine.
No, I think you've been, yeah, mad.
Yeah, you fine.
Ooh, baby.
Take me a slice of that Dean.
Remind me.
That's the most sickening thing you've ever said. We've now would like to return to Email Corner
Okay,
because Carl has cleared up something for us.
okay.
Which was, do you remember you were talking about James Brown, I Feel Good?
Yes. Yes, this is a few weeks ago. I think he says something... He says of instead of have. It's something
Yeah.
like, I feel good.
Da-na-na-na-na-na-na.
I knew I would of, or something like that. Isn't that right?
Yes, something like that.
Yeah. And Carl's email basically confirms you are 100% correct.
We've
It's,
probably got we got a fanfare. Let me see. Yeah. Not dissimilar to the one I just did.
It is indeed. Whoa, I feel good. I knew that I wouldn't have.
Yeah, wouldn't of.
Yeah.
Oh,
I know there's a few examples. Blur do that in Charmless Man. There's one of the lyrics is, I think he'd like to of been Ronnie Cray.
It's
And I think they're deliberately
this
doing
grammar.
it wrong to show that they were such urchins.
oh, of course, yeah.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
Mockney. That's what that is. I doubt if James Brown was going in from Mockney. Yeah. Hardest working man in show business. That was his nickname. Do you know that?
That's you now.
Yeah, exactly. I've taken over the mantle.
He had something like 99 Billboard
Children.
top 100 singles. That's agonising. 99. I think only Elvis and the cast of Glee had more Billboard hits than James Brown.
I think he had 99 Joan Collins films, DVDs, but the bitch ain't one. Phew, it's a struggle to get that out.
You're listening to Frank Skinner's podcast from Absolute Radio.
This is Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio with Emily Dean and Steve Hall. You can text us on 81215, follow the show on Twitter at Frank on the Radio, or email us via the Absolute Radio website.
Now, Frank,
Now,
we had some huge news earlier in the week. Did you see the horse that walked into a police station?
been everywhere, that thing.
Can you both start thinking of your little jokes and your puns now, and we'll get them out the way with? I know you'll have them.
Well, didn't the police...
Yeah, the police have beaten us to it, yeah.
He said, what did he say? At nay point did he pose a risk to security.
I mean, come on, respect.
Yeah. and on their Twitter feed, they put a different pun. They said, looks like we've got a new neighbour.
Oh, dear. They've stopped with the same pun, though.
Yeah.
Of all the things that they could have gone for, they've gone for there. I wondered if it was Shergar finally giving himself up.
Ridden by Kim Jong Un.
They described it as a noble steed in the papers.
Because it was a pony as well. It wasn't a proper big-size horse. It was a little pony.
Rude.
Yeah.
But if you're thinking if the police were going to indulge in humour, they might take it down the more like a horse walked into a police station. Why the long face? I've just witnessed a horrific crime. Or something like that, but just it's like puns are acceptable if you're a newsreader or a PR for the policeman. No, but Frank's puns are good.
Oh,
whereas
come on, that's the trailer. Sorted.
Whereas newsreaders, it's always if it's a chicken story, it'll always be that's very egg-citing.
Yes,
or if it's a cat story, it'll be that's perfect. So their puns so awful.
Yes.
They should be no longer allowed to speak.
But you have to do it on you can't say anything on local news that isn't what I would call a sort of a pun-light thing. Everything they say.
Did you witness the footage of the horse wandering to the police station? I particularly like the very Jobsworth man at the police station.
Well, that was the security.
Yeah.
I didn't know they had security at police stations. What? So that they don't get through to the police? Aren't they security?
Yeah, one would hope so. But he does a great thing, which is the horse comes in through the automatic doors, and then the man does a very caretaker in a 1970s film shooing motion.
I thought he looked a bit like the elephant keeper on Blue Peter.
It's a bit like the 1993 Grand National, where the race that never was, where it's just a man waving his hands in front of a confused animal.
What would have been the real story is if a horse walked into a police station and then 10 minutes later it was taken over by Greek soldiers.
Yes.
That would have been one of the great raids of all time. Fantastic.
I do like an animal on the loose, though, Frank.
Well, you wouldn't if you'd have seen that rat. I mean, I empathise with these people. They saw a horse looking through the window, but they didn't see a rodent.
I think I find it appealing. It exposes man's vulnerability. And I like man's vulnerability exposed.
Yes, I know you do.
They hate it when you refer to it as that, though.
But something's going on in the world, though. Rats, horse. I've been getting a lot of big spiders in the house just lately as well.
You've had some huge ones in your garden.
I wonder if they sort of shooed this horse into an enormous glass and then held a saucer over it and carried it out in that. I've done that twice recently. Oh, man, I'm so proud. I feel so proud. Like I'm the hunter-gatherer in the house. I might do a drawing of it on the wall of our house, me haunting it.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
You may recall, Frank, last week, I don't know if you know this, Steve, but I was telling the boys that I'd started to embrace the lower shoe.
It was a shock.
That was Kim Jong Un was delighted.
It was in his honour. And I was loving my newfound freedom.
We were all, can you imagine? Emily, of all people, in flats.
Yeah.
6 inches minimum, normally.
In any form of a flat. Be it high-rise or the
now she's given up the high-rise.
I could walk again. It was great. And now that things are taking a turn for, let's call it the au naturel, I decided recently I did something extraordinary. I braved the world with a naked face. I went sans makeup.
Just a minute. I'm going to do... I'm just going to have a drink out of this tea. What did you say? No, this is...
I went a little bit what I call a late-night chat show about women's issues.
Wow.
I didn't know...
That's a very specific category.
Yes. And you know what? I liked it.
Really?
I loved it. I haven't done it this morning.
Oh, I was looking, you see.
No, I'm caped in it. But...
Oh, okay.
It's early. But no, I did it. It was because I was late, Frank. I was running late. And I sort of half forgot, which I thought was a good sign.
Yeah.
My confidence.
But what about the half of you that remembered?
Well, I got on the tube.
Yeah.
I know. I got on the tube.
Did you see your own reflection and go, who is that?
So let
Goodness me, she looks amazing.
You had flats on, no makeup, and you got on the tube. I'm starting to think that the real Emily's in a cupboard.
Yeah.
Going,
Were you in tracky bums as well?
No, I'd been up late the night before. I think I was watching Vince Cable compilation or something.
Oh, yes.
I'd had a late night, so I was in a rush. But what happened was when I got on the tube, I couldn't get a seat. Now, there are certain... Even I will draw the line at doing the makeup standing. You can't do that.
Is that right?
It's terrible to do that. It's just not the right etiquette. So I thought I'm going to have to brave it. And I went... Nothing. No foundation, nothing.
I'd have thought you had a makeup bag that said makeup on board. So someone had to stand up. Yes,
I should have that. So... I went into work. I mean, it was difficult at first. Someone asked me if I'd had an eye infection. Genuinely, someone asked me that. I'm not joking.
That's great.
She said, "Oh, that looks nasty." She said, "That looks nasty. Have you got the eye infection?"
I think I'd have just said, "Who are you?"
She's no longer with the company.
It's weird, this, though, isn't it? I mean, Clooney's wedding last week, we got human rights barristers in haute couture mini dresses, and then we got the editors of fashion magazines in flats and no makeup. The world is upside down.
Gone topsy-turvy.
But you know what? I'm starting to feel the benefit, because when I do put it on, it's like wearing a coat suddenly. It's like saving your coat for outdoors.
Is it warmer with it on?
No, people will say, "You look great." Which they wouldn't have previously, if I'm honest.
With it or without it?
Yeah, with it, because they can't believe the difference it makes. So I save it for special occasions now.
Well, you were wearing... We went to the pub on earlier this week. We did a pub quiz that...
Hold on.
We went to the pub, yeah, we did.
The staff had a secret meeting.
Yeah,
yes, we did.
But the part-time staff are in as well.
Big Daddy, sometimes we just like to give you the bacon sandwich. We don't like to show you how the pig is killed.
I know, but that I can't... What, really? You two?
Sometimes we like to do our own thing.
How was the pub quiz?
Well,
the pub
I'm afraid
quiz
it was
wasn't
cancelled at the last minute.
They heard that Wikistevia was in town. They all got scared.
Well, actually, what happened was I heard you two had gone out without telling me, and I had it cancelled. One phone call from me. Well, I've got to do a personal appearance as Perkins at the pub next week in costume.
Frank, it's not many hours now to go.
No, I'm aware of that. Oh. My pants are completely full. Back and front.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
So there was quite a staggering revelation earlier that I'd braved the world sans makeup.
When are you going to come in here, sans makeup?
Well, I don't know if I can handle that.
It's radio.
I mean, baby steps. Yeah, but we discovered there was a webcam when I took my jumper off that time.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
But I did enjoy the extra sort of, let's call it hour and 45 minutes that it gave me in the morning, not putting makeup on. Because the extra time is useful.
Is that it? Doesn't take an hour and 45 minutes.
I've got it down to, I can do it in about, I'd say 14 minutes. Sometimes 12.
I'm liking the 14. Yeah, I was in bed the other morning and I got a phone call from my girlfriend. That's how big our house is. And
I love it when he goes all Dwight York about his ensuite.
Yeah. I like to talk about my crib occasionally. Anyway, so it was Kat saying, "Are you ready to go then?" And I suddenly realised that we had to be somewhere at 9:30.
Oh no!
And we were leaving at 9. You know, that was fair. And it was. I thought, okay. So I got up and I had my hands were working independently. I was buttoning a shirt with one, cleaning my teeth with the other. It was really, and it makes me think I allow, say, an hour and 10 in the morning to get up. I was still downstairs on time and ready to go. And
but how were you smelling?
I think it was Madonna who said, borderline. No, I did that thing. Is I aerosoled over roll ball. So the previous day's roll on had started to fade. So I just topped it up a bit.
Did you do a prison wash?
I didn't even do a prison wash. The only one thing I would have noticed, I had a suit on, that helps. The thing I noticed, I have 2 tufts of hair at the back of my head, which need to be washed and gelled to be removed. I see them on school photographs from the 60s, the same tufts of hair still there.
Oh.
And they were there. But don't we waste a lot? Do we need breakfast?
Exactly, you don't need this time.
No.
And I remember I once went on a date with a Dutchman when I was in Turkey.
There's a lot of complications.
Yeah. You sure it wasn't a Turkish man we were in?
This sounds like one of those meals when they put a crayfish inside a barbel and put that inside a lamb.
A turducken.
Yeah.
And his name was Menno. He was from Delft. Lovely.
Where is he from?
Delft.
Okay. I don't know Delft.
No, I never got to discover it either. And my sister woke me up. She said, "You've got that date. You're meant to be there." I said, "What time is it?" 8:30. I was meant to be there at 8:30.
Oh.
I kept my swimming costume on. I'd gone for a nap in my swimming costume.
This was in the evening. You didn't have a date at 8:30 in the morning?
No, in the evening.
Okay.
Fated Delft,
I'm not that desperate. I don't accept breakfast dates.
Yeah.
So I had my swimming costume. She registered you have to wear that. So I kept my swimming costume on, just put a wraparound skirt over it. I went running down to that beach bar.
It was a beach bar. You could have swam.
Yeah.
What if he'd have been sitting there just looking at his watch and you'd have come out like Ursula Andress? But still, you made it. What about makeup? You must have been makeup for it. No, you
I was doing it as I ran.
Oh, wow.
Just blusher brush.
Did you arrive looking like you were in Kiss?
I didn't look too bad, considering.
Oh, she had the tongue out.
I was around 35 minutes late. But he was very
that's
Dutch.
about average, isn't it?
He was very Dutch and very laid back.
Yes,
it was
so
fine.
they don't. It's fine. I don't know about it.
It didn't last, but I think it was the commute to Delft that took its toll rather than my lateness.
Yeah. This was Menno.
Yeah, Menno.
Menno Men. It's the sequel to Man Oh Man. Okay, I wonder where Menno is now. Do you ever think about him?
Not really.
No. Well, let me think about him on your behalf.
Skinner, Dean and Cochrane. Together, The Frank Skinner Show.
Absolute Radio.
We've got a number of plates spinning for the viewers, the readers rather, to text or tweet us at on the subject of things people shout at the telly. Stephen Barnes is one of the many who gets annoyed by EastEnders because it's whenever people are offered a job. And Ian in the CAF will say, "Can you start now?" And he gets furious that they don't say, "Well, what are the wages? What are the hours? What's the uniform? What's the training? Is there a pension scheme? Shares?"
I think they're just more flexible in there.
It's much more complicated than that, exactly.
Exactly. But not in Ian Beale's world.
No.
And we talked about things people shout at the pub, which was an offshoot.
What about when people go out for some air in EastEnders? I'm just going to go out and get a bit of air. Okay, who are you having an affair with?
195 on the subject of things people shout in the pub said that whenever they're playing darts and someone scores 105, everyone in their pub in Ascot shouts, "That's a guinea!"
Wow, wait, that's quite a fine old reference. A guinea is £1 and a shilling, or £1 and 5p, you see. Do you see? Hello? Oh, no, they don't answer, do they? Sorry, the earphones confused me.
Will from London shouts at the TV whenever anyone in any US TV show or movie, when they park in a dodgy car park, they never ever lock their cars.
Yes.
This is true, yeah.
So he's furious at that. And Alex Marsh, when his dad watches Pointless with him, whenever someone answers with an answer they know is wrong, they shout, "That's wrong!" And then when it's revealed to be wrong, they go, "We told you!"
I think for quiz shows, that's part of the joy of it,
Oh, yeah.
isn't it?
Well, Mark Richards says, "When I was a child, you could always hear the neighbours shouting, 'Gamble!' at the TV when Bullseye was on, and the contestants had got through to the final
that bit
part
at the end.
with a chance for the star prize. Bully's special prize, I believe it was
Yeah,
called.
but what was great was when they wouldn't gamble. And they brought the people who thought they were out of it, they thought they were gone, they got brought back on for another chance.
A sort of
They called
repechage.
it, Look what you could have won, which I often say to ex-boyfriends.
Yeah, exactly. I like that thing in the paper when they say blah blah shows blah blah what they're missing.
Oh, I love what they're missing.
They had a Kelly Brook one today in the paper. I don't know what her last boyfriend was called.
I believe it was David McIntosh.
Oh, and it says that Kelly shows David what he's missing.
Yeah.
We'll have to we can do this for the picture of you that we put on the Facebook page. We can say, Emily shows Menno from Delft what he's missing.
If he's still missing it, he's a tragic figure. He's laid back, Menno. Oh no, she was beautiful, but you know, there's other people I know. That's what it'll be like.
He had Calvins.
Did he?
What was Calvin wearing?
I'm just saying they weren't from the market.
No, of course, no. I wouldn't do
They were
that
the real
for a
Sylvester
second.
McCoy.
I bet he has. I bet he has Calvin classics. I mean, don't get me wrong. Massive respect.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
A man, speaking of people born out of their time, Boris Johnson has been in the news. Well, he's constantly in the news. But I enjoyed his little fluff earlier in the week. He was appearing on
I don't think he's ever admitted any of those.
He had a moment. He had a senior moment where he completely forgot the name of the Tory candidate in the Clacton by-election.
Yeah, I don't know if that was a senior moment as much as an elitist moment.
Yeah.
In that he doesn't really care about that person, does he?
No, absolutely. He forgot the name, as indeed did most of the voters in Clacton.
He's called Giles Watling.
Giles Watling, yes.
He was actually in the sitcom Bread, which we would watch it sometimes at school as part of our social education.
Well, I have to say, if you were told that someone from Bread was going to be an MP, you'd guess that would be a Labour MP, wouldn't you?
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Yes.
Well,
But he's one of the ones that's turned.
Yeah. Well, one of the cast from Bread, Peter Howitt, directed Sliding Doors. So they've had an interesting career post-Bread.
If there's any other Bread-based celebrities who've gone on to do interesting things, let us know. And what happened to that China cockerel that used to be on the table?
Yeah.
Is that in some sort of TV museum, or is it in a skip?
Where do these things end up? Well, I'll tell you. On our Christmas table once when we had the flowers from the Vicar of Dibley Christmas special, yeah. Because our friend was a producer at the BBC. I said, oh, I love that arrangement. She said, Vicar of Dibley.
Well, a friend of mine was going past the BBC... Actually, it wasn't BBC, I think it was Lime Grove or something. And you remember when Terry Wogan had a regular a show on every night on Terry, more or less, every weeknight, a chat show. And it had a sign hanging that said Wogan, a sparkly sign. That was the set, basically. And after the series ended, they saw this thing at the back of the studio. So they went in and they got this, it's that three-dimensional Wogan. And what they did in their house, they had their loft converted into a room, and they wedged this Wogan sign between between the floor and the loft entrance, and they used it as steps. So they climbed up the sparkling Wogan. Yeah, fabulous stairway to Wogan.
Oh.
And she's climbing the stairway to Wogan.
The old DG. Here we are in the vaults, the BB... Oh, yes, anyway. The whole...
Have you ever... Have you ever had a moment like that where you've forgotten a name at a key time?
Oh, God, when you're comparing, it's always a worry. And I was comparing, and Joe Wilkinson was on the bill.
Oh, yes.
And it's a very fine comic, who I rate very highly. And it was one of those, he wasn't, he was fairly new then, I thought, I got to remember the name. And I always go for initials, just remember JW. So he came on and said, ladies and gentlemen, Jack Whitehall.
Please tell me you didn't do that.
I did honestly do it. And he went up to the mic and said, actually, I'm not Jack Whitehall. It was a real terrible, awkward
this is awful.
moment.
That's the worst thing you've ever done.
I know. Also, there's a lot of very disappointed teenage girls in the auditorium. They thought Jack Whitehall had been on a desert island. But it was. I only had the initial. He don't know how close he was to being introduced as Julie Walters.
Absolute Radio.
Frank Skinner on Absolute Radio.
The thing I enjoyed most in Boris's fluff was that he just became abusive to the DJ, to the person interviewing him.
Did they?
Because they wouldn't give him the name, and so they realised it was obvious that Boris couldn't get the name.
Ferrari.
It was Nick Ferrari. And Boris went, "Don't just sit there like some fat Buddha."
He did say that.
He did say that. But in a sort of very... And then when he gave him the name, he said it's Giles Watling.
As well, he's got a padlock on the fridge now.
he said it's Giles Watling. And Boris went, yes, I knew it was something. I knew it was Tingling or something like that. So just, he is absolutely Teflon, that even when he forgets his own candidate's name.
But see, people would be saying good old Boris.
Precisely, yeah.
And I
He's
kind
got
of know
the
what
likability,
they mean about that, because the people who do remember the names, they're not remember it because they care.
No, yeah, absolutely. I had someone just made up a name. They couldn't remember. They were bringing me on stage and they couldn't remember my name at all. So they just went, "Please welcome Pete Templeman." And then afterwards,
Can I say that's better than Steve Hall?
Yeah. That's.
It sounds like you might have gone to school with him, in fairness.
Well, the problem with being a comedian called Steve Hall is that people might always.
Another great way to begin a sentence.
They might put empty in as a middle name, as a nickname.
Yes, which you've introduced me on this show on a number of occasions.
That's
with
rounded
that exact
it up nicely then.
Yeah, and so, don't give them that sort of leeway.
What about when that woman at Install kept calling me Lindsay? And I actually couldn't bear to... I mean, I was sort of half loved it, because I was waiting for the big, what I call the Jean Valjean reveal moment, when I would tell her the truth.
Yeah.
And she kept saying, "I know Lindsay, exactly Lindsay." And then I broke cover.
But I worked with a Michelle who I called Melanie for 80s, and someone said to me, her name, did you call her Melanie? I said, yeah. And they said, she's called Michelle. And I thought, I've called her Melanie 20 or 30 times, and she's never corrected me. Do you know I despised her for that?
I was trying to have the Alan Partridge defence. In my defence, I never knew their names in the first place.
There was...
it's true, Frank.
We worked... Really, I worked. I'm going to be brutal now. I worked with a woman who was not a beauty, and her name was... I can do this because there's a...
Imagine if you said that about me.
Her name was Val, and I remembered her by thinking Valhalla. That's how I remembered the name, which I thought was hell. So I thought she looks like a creature from hell, which is unkind when you think about it. But then I discovered that Valhalla isn't really hell. It's just an afterlife. It's a Norse afterlife place. But it's where sort of war heroes go. So I didn't feel so bad about it.
You didn't shout, "Odin!" every time you saw her.
No.
I'd love to talk about this further. Yeah. However...
I've just thought of a pun then, but it would have given the name... would have given away who she was.
Don't do the pun. Because we have about 8 hours until Big Daddy's big moment.
Well, it's a little more than that. It's actually it's on at 8:35 this evening.
And,
there's a lot of love from the readers.
Oh, they're loving it.
Oh, really?
Now you're getting famous.
Real, genuine pride and excitement for you.
That's lovely.
We've had a tweet from Lyndon, who says, was listening to previous podcasts online, and in the first podcast on the 10th of the 11th, 2012... you talk about wanting to be on Doctor Who. Yeah,
well, that's how I think. Someone texted the show and asked what our ambitions were. I can't remember what yours was, Em.
Oh, I don't know, but it probably involved... I think it involved...
Mano?
No, it involved Tom Jones.
Tom Jones?
Yes.
Well, you remember the shout still. I think... how do you get him to turn his chair around? That's the question. You just push the wheels a bit.
It's not necessary for me.
And I said I'd want to be in Doctor Who. That was the thing. I remember you poured scorn. And who would have thought?
I did.
And now here we are.
Dreams can come true.
Can I say on a serious note, I'm actually very proud of you.
Well, can I say on a serious note, I am beyond happy and excited about the whole thing. I can't find anything cynical or ironic to say by the way of comedy, because I am just thrilled. And thank you for everyone who sent in those lovely messages. And thank you, Stephen Moffat, for giving me this opportunity.
Oh, God. All right, Gwyneth.
Yes. Can I just say my parents, who were so... And William Hartnell, who started the whole thing. Verity Lambert. Yes, no, really. But we still haven't got an ending to the show. Every week we we're trying to come up with an ending, but because I'm trying to get a new ending, Steve. So if you've got any ideas at all,
you could regenerate, Who style, but just into yourself, like a younger version of yourself.
Yes. Well, I probably will do that tonight. I would watch it from behind the sofa in traditional thing, but our sofa's against the wall, so I'd have to stand in the hallway and that'd ruin the whole evening. Anyway, by way of an ending, we could say goodbye. What's the last thing I say in the show? Oh, I can't give that away. I'll do that next week. Spoilers! That's what I've got on my cortina.
The Frank Skinner Show on Absolute Radio. Back Saturday morning from 8. Tune in live for the full Frank experience.
Absolute Radio.